everybody, and welcome back to City Sowers. Today we are going to do a winter tour of our little backyard homestead here. I had some questions come in about how we have things actually set up in our layout. Now unfortunately I don't possess a drone at this point in the life of our YouTube channel, so I'm going to do the best that I can with kind of a walkabout, but I'm going to give you kind of a general idea of how we have things set up here for our livestock as well as our gardens. So we're gonna go over here to the back door and we'll get started. Okay, so this is my back door. We come right out and here's the dog and the goats, and I just refilled their mineral, so they are going nuts on it. They're very happy. But so right now we have, this is just our back patio. The goats rarely leave it during the winter, especially when it gets damp out, so I just have some bedding that I laid down out here just to make them more comfortable, and it also keeps the patio from getting really gross by having the bedding out here. So directly across from the back door is our garden, or the main garden anyway. Mostly it's not empty, but it's much less busy than it was during the summer. Here, we can pop in here. Let's see. This barrel over here, these are all, these are Suzu baby bok choy, and then under them they have some tot soy. So we've got lots of choys. Actually, this is the only area in the main garden I have choys, but I've got other choys outside. And this is all cabbages, with the occasional elephant garlic that we missed over the summer. This bed I haven't planted anything, so these are all like volunteer calendulas, which are starting to bloom. This back bed here is all collards, and this bed is all cauliflowers. There's two different varieties in here, and this is a Chinese cabbage, and then these are all lettuces. So the garden is pretty pared down for this time of year. I just never ended up getting anything put in here, so it's just waiting for spring, as is. This is our herb bed, and there's not a ton of herbs that I can start in the winter, so we're just waiting on that. Alright, coming out of the garden, this is our main yard. Now it looks pretty ugly right now at this time of year because all the grass has died back, but in the summertime this whole area here is grass, and this walkway has bark in it. So this area has remained a blank area for kids to play in, for the dog to run in. It's just, we still have to have an area for kids to play in the yard. So this is our play area. We have a grape vine. There used to be 3. There was 1 on each post, but 2 of them have died over the past couple of years, and so now we're down to just the 1 vine that is covering the entire arbor. But back here, so this concrete pad actually did not exist when we bought this house 12 years ago, and so we poured this pad, and David built this swinging gate that it's a little beat up now and needs to be redone. We've learned a lot over the years, but we used to have a boat that we would park on this pad, and so when we got the goats, we put a goat pen here. Now, I used to keep the goats in here over the winter, and they just never really liked it. I always had to drag them across the yard, which is not fun when it's raining and it's muddy and it's wet. So, and it's on concrete anyway, so I would still have to power wash it and put bedding down and all that stuff. So it's like, well, if I already have to do that, I might as well do it on a patio that they're gonna stay on. So I don't have to move them, I don't have to worry about it. They stay really dry on the back patio. So this pen we use primarily for when we have babies. So they kid in here, and when the babies are still too small to go out, they stay in this pen for about 2 weeks. And then when it's time to lock the babies up at night, the babies go in here and the moms get to stay out. So it's been really effective over the past few years. We love this pen. We got it at Costco of all places. It's technically a dog pen, but it works when you've got miniature goats. Gideon, you got a stick? Oh, hello. 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 Okay, so there's the garden. I'm standing on the boat pad. And then here is our chicken run that we just put in. Gosh, I think it's been almost 2 years ago now. It's been really awesome having it. We used to have the chickens have free reign of the yard, which is nice in some respects and is not nice in others. So it was nice that the chickens had free reign of the entire yard. They would pick bugs. They just had a blast. But the problems that I had were that I kept getting chickens in the garden and on the patio because they can fit in some places and fly over some things. And we also had a lot more chicken poop on the patio, which is a lot less tolerable than goat poop on the patio. So we ended up deciding to put our chickens in a run. But the other part of that was not just primarily about enclosing the chickens, but about keeping the goats out of the coop. Because baby goats could fit through any and all openings that we ever had for the chicken coops. And anybody who has goats knows that if a goat gets into chicken feed, it can be a very serious problem. We've actually had Betsy bloat twice in her life because she got into chicken feed. And we are very fortunate that she recovered both times, but I just don't want to even have that be a factor or even be a possibility. So we just decided to put a run up, and it protects our goats, and so it just ended up working out better for this situation. If I had my druthers, of course I would have the chickens on pasture rather than in a run. But I'm in the city, so this is the best that we can do, especially having the goats. Now, if we only had the chickens, we wouldn't have this run, because we actually did that for years. We've had chickens now for, oh my gosh, 10.5 years? Yeah, I think about that long. And we've only had goats for about 4 years. So the chickens have definitely been here longer. And they used to have free reign of everything. But just with the necessity for safety for the goats, the run ended up being a really good investment. But in the run, we also have housed our rabbits. And the reason that we have our rabbits in our chicken run is because also of the goats. Goats can be very determined to get to rabbit pellets, which, I mean, the rabbit pellets would not hurt the goat, but the goats would definitely hurt the rabbits trying to break into the cages to get to the pellets. So we decided that it would be the safest course for the rabbits to be in the chicken run, and then they can stay safe from the goats trying to smash the cages or anything like that, trying to get into the pellets. But this has actually worked out really great having them on the back fence, because everything can be mounted to the fence for stability. So we've never had any cages fall or anything like that. And it's worked out really well. So that's kind of the main portion of the yard. Now we're going to move over here into the patio, which has more gardening space in it, as well as our feed storage and things like that. Alright, so just behind me is the goat patio with my little audience, Gideon, who is now too big to fit through the gap at the bottom of the gate. So this is our patio garden over here. These are all containers. Everything that we grow on the patio has to be grown in a container because of the concrete. So these are storage totes. I've got barrels. This is a bok choy, which has bolted, but I've been kind of piecemeal feeding it to the animals. This is a purple lady bok choy. The barrels I haven't done anything with at this point. They'll be planted out a little early for spring starts, so I didn't want to have to deal with ripping things out. This is my finger lime tree that was so pathetic. It was in the store container for over a year and was barely alive because it would dry out so fast in the plastic container, and finally found a pot for it and got it in there, and it just took off, and it's very happy now. But the only thing that I planted on this side here, these are all different kinds of kale. I've got 3 different kinds of kale over here, so they filled in really nice. It's actually about time to start harvesting them. And then I've got a strawberry tower here and a strawberry planter here. And a rose tucked in over here. And this side fence over here has wire fencing on it to be a trellis. I grow noodle beans on it in the summertime. It's worked out really great. So this whole patio garden over here gets like full sun, and so I wanted to utilize more space, so I have more space. But if we come back over here, this is also where we store our hay for our animals, the goats and the rabbits both. The basket here I've been using for feeding the rabbits. It's really been helpful to carry all the pellets. The plan has been to move our pellet container out by the rabbits. It just hasn't happened, and this has been working out okay for now. So, and then that takes us over here to the gate for the side yard. There we go. And I have more containers over here. And there's, you know, some wreckage of wheelbarrows over here. They need to be repurposed. But these are planters that I have that nasturtium has just gone crazy in it, and I've just let it do that because it looks glorious. I love it. Now, nasturtium is actually a frost tender plant, but I think it just does better because it's over here. The side of our house is white, so the light reflects from the sun onto the plants. It keeps them a little bit warmer, and it's just protected a little bit more in this corner. So they'll get some damage when we get a frost, but they survive the winter, and they just look so nice. And I've had a hard time getting other things to grow over here. So at this point, I'm just letting the nasturtium grow and let it be beautiful and bring joy to me. Now, another testament to how protected this area is, this is a tomato that is still going since last summer. It doesn't have any fruit on it, but it has like flower buds on it, and it's still alive and kicking. I mean, it looks really healthy. So it's got some areas of damage in here that need to be cut out. But I think for an experiment, I just want to let it be and see what happens. Oh, look! It has a tomato on it. Look! Ha! That is hilarious. The flavor probably will not be anywhere near as good as in the summertime, but that is funny. So yeah, tomato still alive in January. The other planters here. Now, these are actually all three the kids' planters. So this tomato is actually Caleb's tomato that he planted last spring. So this is just so funny that it's still alive. So I think I'm gonna leave it and just see what happens. But right over here next to the planters, this is our fruit tree mound. And this one here is a fruit salad tree, which has a, let's see, it has a plum, a nectarine, a white peach, a yellow peach, and an apricot. So it's ready for its winter pruning. I need to do that, but it's going strong, and it's doing really well for us. And next to it is a 4-in-1 apple tree. So it has 4 different varieties of apples that ripen at different times of the year. And last year it finally started producing some really amazing apples that were so good. So I'm really looking forward to getting some more harvest off of that. And then between them here, this is a massive rosemary. I keep cutting it and shaping it and cutting it especially out of this tree, and it keeps coming back and taking over. So it's due for another trim. And so this whole mound here needs a little bit of maintenance. Things have died, and things need to be pruned, but it's doing great. Alright, so coming from the fruit tree mound, there's my car. This is just, you know, the front of the house, which Nathan and I just cleaned up and got all these plants all pruned, so it's all glorious. But then over here is the kids' garden, which it's a little messy because of the leaves falling and their letters kind of falling over in the weather, so I got to get those all fixed up. But this is all their winter crop. We've got kale and lettuce and kale and lettuce and kale and lettuce and some chard. So, but this is all, the kids have their own bed, which Nathan, Audrey, Caleb, and they've done really great with it. They love picking what they get to plant, and they like coming out and helping me plant it. So it's been a tremendous success, really, having the kids have their own gardening space. They get to pick what they want, they get to harvest it, they get to eat it. It's a great experience for them. And then this little skinny bed here is just kind of a shared space. They get to choose what they want to plant over here. And right now it's cilantro with the occasional volunteer lettuce and things like that. But yeah. So the kids' garden is doing great. So yeah, that is pretty much everything that we have here. It's all of our food production, our animals. It's the best I can do really with figuring out the layout of everything. It's really a great setup for the space that we have. We've managed to squeeze in a lot of growing space. Whoop, hello Gideon. He jumped up. We've managed to squeeze in a lot of grow space into a relatively small area. Now, our entire lot is 1/5 of an acre, which includes the house. So, as well as the front yard. So the backyard is going to be significantly smaller than 1/5 of an acre. But we have been able to squeeze in as much as we possibly can, logistically for us, as well as legally for our city. My biggest advice for someone who is wanting to homestead in their backyard is to check your city ordinances as well as your neighbors. Because while it may be technically legal for you to have certain animals within the city limits, if your neighbors are not happy about it, they're going to make life difficult for you. They're going to be complaining about noise or smell or whatever, and it's just really better for everyone if everyone is on the same page. We have been very fortunate in that we have very tolerant neighbors. We've only had, I think, one complaint ever about our goats, and that was when they were young and they were really loud. One particular morning, and it wasn't even that I heard a complaint. It was that one of the neighbors just yelled, "Shut up," at my goats, and it's like it wasn't a big deal because life has moved on and we've never heard any actual complaints about any of our animals. But it's also really awesome to have a sense of community, to have neighbors that you can share excess eggs with or excess harvest. We have some plants that will grow over the fence and into our neighbor's yard, and I've told her, hey, if you want to pick a melon or harvest some beans or whatever is hanging over into your yard, absolutely feel welcome to go ahead and harvest that. And that really goes a long way toward smoothing anything with your neighbors. It makes them more understanding and even more supportive of your endeavor when you get to share that harvest with them. What are you doing, pup? Are you eating grass? Hi, puppy. Sit. Hi, look, show everybody how big you are. You're such a big boy. Gideon is 6 months old now, and he is last I weighed him, which was last week, he was almost 29 pounds. So he's growing like crazy, and we have his neuter scheduled. So that'll be done soon. Things are always changing and shifting when you have a homestead, and especially as you're figuring out new ventures like the rabbits in particular. We're going to do a video soon about our experience with our rabbits so far, the differences that we've seen even just between the 2 litters that we've butchered. It's really been a very steep learning curve, and it really is anytime that you jump into an animal venture. Like, even if you have research, if you have mentors, getting hands-on experience yourself is always going to be the most educational. It's just like anything else. You can educate yourself as much as possible, but when it comes right down to real-world experience, sometimes the classroom just doesn't prepare you for every situation. And I mean, animals are unpredictable. Like, I did not expect to ever have an issue with bumblefoot because I've had resting pads with my rabbits all the time, and they were going to be perfect, and it was going to be fine, and they were never going to have sores on their feet because I took care of it. But I had a rabbit get sores on her feet because she's special, and kept peeing on her resting pad. So she always had dampness under her feet. And so she gave herself sores by always being in her own urine. So it's just that kind of stuff. I mean, you can't prepare for that. You can't expect that. So now I know, and I know that she has to have a different kind of resting pad that has some sort of drainage in it. So I would absolutely advocate for anybody who is considering homesteading, wants to homestead, get your hands on as much hands-on experience as you can, but especially within the bounds of the law. You really don't want to have to deal with the situation of facing fines as well as seizures of your animals if it turns out that you are illegally housing them, which is something that we had to actually make a decision not to do an animal because of that, because in our city, quail are considered poultry, and our city ordinance is that you may only have a dozen female poultry. So you can have chickens, ducks, but you can only have 12 of them. And for quail, you really need more than 12 to make it really worth your while. And because I already had chickens, like, I couldn't add quail on top of my chickens. So you can have 30 homing pigeons, I believe, in our city, which is interesting. But that is just the way that the rules are. And if there is ever a gray area, please inquire, because you really don't want to go through having the time and the money invested into a venture and then find out that, oh, it's illegal and they're going to take it away. So with our city ordinances, we are allowed to have a dozen chickens. We have 10 right now. And you are allowed to have 2 miniature goats, which includes pygmy goats or the Nigerian dwarfs. We have our Nigees, we have 2 does, and because we breed them, we had to look into the rule on that as well, and it's over the age of 4 months. So we have the ability to breed our does, and we hang on to our kids until they are weaned, and then they go to new homes before they're 4 months old. For the rabbits, they are considered a small pet, technically. So they don't actually have like ordinances on limits and things like that for them here in our city. That may be different in other places. I realize that we have some viewers in Australia who have said that it's completely illegal to even have rabbits because they're such an invasive species in Australia that they can't have them. And of course, I can't speak for a whole country. I don't know if that's everywhere, but it is something that you have to be aware of in whatever your city you're in. Another thing I want to point out that we have in our yard is that we have our water is automated for pretty much everything. The only thing that we do not have automated with water is our rabbits, and that is mostly because we are still in the learning curve process. They've been shifting in and out of our garage depending on the hot weather, so we just haven't really figured out a system yet that we want to use for their water. But our chickens are on automatic water, our goats are on automatic water, and that's made a huge difference for us just in the convenience factor. The chickens are on an automatic feeder because we don't really have problems with critters coming and eating the food, which I realize is a luxury with where we are. There are a lot of places that have to lock up their chicken feed at night or things like that. But it's another thing that has made things easier is to have our bucket feeders that we use for our chickens. But of course, being in the city, everything is on city water, so every drop is precious. And the automatic waters with the floats that prevent them from, you know, overflowing and things like that, they just make things a little easier. They can't dump them over. It's a way of conserving water that we have to pay for by the gallon. We also have our garden on an automated water system. It's a drip system because, again, that's going to conserve water. Because we are on a meter, we have to pay per gallon of water that we use here. So getting everything automated has made a huge difference for us. It didn't used to always be automated. You had to go and turn on the garden and remember to turn it off. And now that things are on timers and they're automated, it has made a difference in our water bill. So for people who have very busy lives, full-time jobs, getting things automated is significantly helpful, and it makes things easier. It really does. But one very important thing is that no matter how automated you are, you need to get eyes on your animals every single day. Animals can very quickly change their situation, and so making sure that you are checking them every day is really important. It's a really important aspect of animal husbandry, is getting eyes, even hands on your animals every day. It makes you very aware of when things are changing in your animals, subtle changes. With the goats, it helps to detect their heat cycles because I don't have a buck to let me know when they're ready to breed. So having my daily interaction with them makes me aware of their normal behavior and aware of when that behavior changes. So automate where you can, but make sure that you still interact with your animals and get eyes on them every single day. Another tip that I highly recommend for any species that you're looking into getting: find a vet before you get your animals. You never know when things are going to happen. It's especially difficult around my area to find a vet who will see goats. For some reason, goats just fall into this niche of large animal vets don't want to see them, and small animal vets don't see them because they see mostly dogs and cats. So they are in this weird little niche. I am very fortunate in that my vet was actually one of my teachers in college when I was taking a vet tech course, and he is a large animal vet who will see goats, so that's very, very fortunate for me, but he is a little bit of a drive out. So make sure that you know who you can take your animals to in the event of an emergency. That is a huge deal, because with Betsy, I've told you, she's bloated twice on us. 2 years ago, she ate a poisonous plant and nearly died. Like, it was a very serious issue, and we had to call the vet and have him come out and see her. So, I mean, it is very important to have a vet on call, or that you can call whenever something happens. Other animals are a little bit easier. Small animal vets will usually see a chicken because they might see birds. They will definitely see rabbits. But goats especially, you've got to find a vet. I would recommend even before you get the goats. Just find out what kind of resources you have around you before you get your animals. Oh, sweet Betsy. Hi, darling. How are you? May I sit over here by you? I hope this little tour has been helpful for those of you who wanted to know kind of our setup. And every yard is different, so it's kind of hard to tell people, well, do it this way. Every setup is different, but I hope that this was helpful to some of you, and it gave you a little bit of a better picture of exactly how we have things set up. And we look forward to sharing. Thank you, Gideon. You're such a dork. Thank you, Gideon. We also look forward to sharing all of the changes and developments that happen for us with our homestead as they come. So thank you so much for watching. As always, this is your urban nerd with a goat herd, so that you can grow where you're planted.